This thing on? Sup everyone, welcome to Garage Topics. So today's episode is going to be focusing on the Toyota Tacoma, aka Rust Tacoma, that I picked up and got screwed over by the previous owner. Thank you for that one. We're going to take a look at getting everything off of the truck where the rust is. We're going to get the cap off, the bed off, the gas tank out, everything out, and really assess how much rust there is and if it's worth fixing or not. It's worth fixing. So hopefully you guys get a lot of knowledge out of this. I say this out of my videos as a more instructional video versus a fun video, but nonetheless I had fun watching it because it's a lot of work, but to zoom it up and make it into a couple minutes is a lot of fun instead of watching me work for hours and hours and hours. Stay tuned and I'm going to take you right to the beginning of this truck in its original form, rusty form, into the better future. Woo! Hey everyone, so today we're going to start tearing apart the Tacoma. I'm going to probably leave the garage empty because I'm going to want to put the bed cap and the truck bed in here while we're doing the rust work, but let's go get her. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is take the top cap bed off. This lock here, I don't know why, it'll latch but it won't lock with the key. So, get everything good inside. There's 4 bolts that hold this down. It's like a clamp almost. So I'll take those 4 off and then there you go, that's one of them. Take those 4 off and then it just pops right off. I didn't put it on too tight yet because I knew I was going to take it off soon, so let's get started. In my situation, I had got my wife to help me take this cap off. Kudos to her, bless her heart, for trying to help me out. This was just at her point of being too heavy, but we got the cap off and set it aside right now. It's not too bad, we have 2 people, it's just more of an awkward thing to pick up. Wouldn't want to do this more than once or twice a year, if ever. Alright, that's all out. Let's see if this works. Good. Get that. What's that on? At this point, I'd taken all 6 bolts that held the bed into the frame and all the wiring and just wanted to make sure that everything was loose, and it was. The last electrical connection to take out were the tail lights, so Philip said did the job and take those out, and we're about ready to take the whole bed off. Pretty much taken all day. Because the bolts were really stubborn. I only had 1 bolt that broke. But all the wires disconnected. There was just little push pins that held them in. I took the bumper off to make it easier. But looking forward to taking it off. The only pain's going to be getting the bed around this neck. That's going to be tough. Going to have to lift it up, but there's nothing holding it together right now. So we'll see. I think it's heavy, so I don't know if we're going to do it with just 2 people or not, but we'll find out. Alright, so it took 4 guys to get it off. It's mainly hard because you had to get over this neck, but it's rough, but it's not as bad as I thought it was. I knew this back section here was bad, so I'll have to cut some things out of that. These bumper brackets must be a different metal because they look in really good shape. This bracket is salvageable, not too bad. That one is not. That one's toast. So I'm going to have to replace that. Hopefully I can buy just a replacement because it just bolts in and go from there. I hit it with a hammer in some places and all the top of the frame is in good nick. It's in good shape, so we can definitely fix it with our bracket piece. I found one other section over that had a hole, so I'm gonna have to get some metal to bracket that up. Weird thing about that one is that the bottom isn't rusted out, it's just that side piece is. So sandblasting it's really gonna tell the real tale of what's going on. And once we do that, we'll see exactly what rust is left over. We'll use the hammer, make sure that no places have any dents in them after you hit it. That's telling you that it's not strong at all. And then we'll go from there. Cutting these brackets off is going to be a pain. It's a grease down here. That's actually good. It means it's being kept well. The diff has a little bit of surface rust, but nothing bad. That's kind of what I would expect to see on there, so that's okay. It has these cheapo struts on it. I don't know if I'm going to switch those out. Probably going to just focus on the frame for right now. But definitely while I have this off, I'm going to sandblast it all and treat it and paint it and make sure it's all good. Looks kind of cool. I'm thinking about just not putting the bed back on. The bed's going to stay there for a while, but heck, I just make a wooden bed, get some stacks, cut the muffler off, and bring a pipe right up here. I don't know about that, but nice to dream. It looks kind of naked without that bed, for sure. It looks like a little wimpy truck, but it's not. It's a man's truck. Alright, day 2. I cleaned up some of the frame with the brushes to see how bad it was. So far so good. Seen some places that I didn't expect were rusty, but overall it's still very structural. What I'm doing now is I'm taking out the gas tank. And I first took off the skid plate. It's held by 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those came out fine with PP plaster. Then I took off this evap system, which set right here. Look how rusty it is in here. This brace is probably done, but these bolts came out fine with some PP plaster. Didn't strip them. Everything was good. Left everything connected. The only bolt I've actually broken at the thread so far is this gooseneck thing, or this filler neck, whatever you call it. That snapped. That's fine. So that's separated from the frame. I separated the wiring from the gas tank and this evap canister. So that's now all attached to the frame. So that's loose. This is loose. I unplugged a lot of the fuel lines here. Most of them were just these snap rings. This one I'm keeping on because it's all attached to evap, but all the ones that are attached to the engine I took off. This one I think you need a special tool, but I just used some pliers and I took this red clip off and it came off. Everything else slipped off fine. I labeled right and left for these ones, so when I go to put it all back together I know which one's which. And once I did that, there are only, I believe, bolts at the front and then the strap that holds it in. And the bolt was right here, halfway into unscrewing the bolt. The head stripped randomly. It's pretty gunky in there, so unfortunately I had to cut that, but there was enough gap between this and this that I could just slide the blade in there, so not too bad. I'll drill that out once I get the gas tank out. I have the gas tank held up by a jack and jack stands because there's about a quarter tank left. It's kind of heavy. You can see I think it's just resting on this jack stand right now because we've gotten the strap loose here, so that no longer holds it. Let's see, this may be held by the jack. We'll find out. Sure is. It's held in by the tucked everything. I tucked the neck this way. I tucked the evap here, and it should just push down right here. Make sure there's nothing else holding it. I don't have the car jacked up yet, but I don't think I'm going to be able to squeeze it out with that neck on, so I'm going to jack up the truck right here to get enough clearance to scoop it on out. Alright, end of day 2. The gas tank's out. I got the U-bolts out. Instead of trying to unbolt them, you may as well replace them, so I cut them. Square in half. Pro tip, make sure that you take the shocks out first, because I did not, and it scared the crap out of me because I had a lot of pressure on it, but all was fine. Guess I got them out on both sides. Next things left is to, same thing with these, I think these seize up, so I'm gonna cut those out. I think there's a, I don't know if you can see it, there's like a bushing in there. I'm gonna put the cutter right in the bushing and cut the bolt out. And then same thing with the side. And once I do that, I'm not gonna cut this off yet until I measure exactly where it sits, even though it's probably a little bit off because it's rusted some. But I'm gonna take measurements so that when it goes back in place, the axle's straight. At least make sure it's straight on both sides. It's kind of rough, to be honest. It's more rust than I thought there was. Not so much as far as what I could see, but like there's a lot being covered up. So I mean, smacking everything with a hammer, and there's little pieces here and there. It's just being covered up by the previous owner just trying to sell it, which is pretty shitty. But it's salvageable enough. All the metal up top is in really good shape. It's just down the bottom that's crummy. So I'm working it in the evenings after work, little by little. I only have like an hour or two after work, but so far I probably have taken my time, like 7 hours into it. But almost all the hard parts done. Just got to take that off, measure where this is. This side's in a lot better condition, so I'll measure it up and then cut it, and then we'll be able to start cutting all this junk out. Ugh. Day 3, I only spent about an hour after work today getting into the Tacoma. So this is the first side. I'm probably gonna have to cut that bolt out, but I wanted to see if I could get away with not cutting it out. So all the rusted bottom section is gone, and there it all is. So this is all trashed. All the junk came out from it, but the actual metal underneath is in pretty good shape. It's thick. It's not like it's not scaling on the sides, just the bottom that's scaling a little bit. The sides is soft to a touch. So this definitely will be a really good fix once we knock all this stuff off with a sandblaster and grind it down and put the new piece in. But that's what I'm looking at. This the actual metal for the brace is in good shape. What's attached is the frame. I'm gonna try and cut the frame out so that the bracket remains, unless I can find a new bracket online, but try to cut it out. On the original, it just welded here to the frame. This piece goes straight, some welds. This piece goes straight, some welds. So I'm just gonna cut the frame off and see if I can reuse it, but if not, I'll try and find some online. But only spent about an hour today. Not terribly long, but it's looking good. And I still have the whole section that's cut there. I probably have an inch on either side that I could cut off more for what that plate's gonna fix. I'll replace, so it'll be welded up in there, so I'll make sure that's good. But for this side, I think I'm done cutting. The next piece will just be to sandblast the inside and the outside and get some paint on it before we decide to weld it back up again. The only crummy thing is I don't have a point of reference for where this needs to be welded back up again, because both sides were rusted out. So I'm gonna look online, but I think the main principle is that both of them are the same, at the same spot on each side of the frame, so that the rear axle's straight. Because obviously it wasn't equal before and it rode fine, so as long as they're equal, I think it would be in good shape. That's day 3. Alright, day 4. I only spent an hour today, but did the same thing on this side. Cut out all the bad rust down here. Still got ways to go on this one. I need a smaller cutter thing, like an air-powered one. Got a lot of the junk out. On this side here, there was a random patchy, so I cut that out. And look, this is so dumb. You can see in there, it's just a hole that ends right there. It's just a place to trap stuff. So here there's a hole, but then it just goes down here and traps water and mud and dust. So that's why there's rust, because there's nowhere for the water and mud to go. Same condition. It's getting kind of dark out, but it's still really thick, so I feel good about it. So the repair should do really good. Some Swiss cheese, I got to cut that out. You can see a line I tried to cut, but couldn't get in the rest. But for the most part, it's going pretty good. It's not as bad of a job as I thought it would be. I say that now, but the big piece is going to be getting this mounted back up. But spend about an hour after work each day, and an hour on each side, pretty much cutting out all the junk and making sure I do it right. That's all I got for today. What I've done is I've hit this with a grinding wheel, and I also hit it with the sandblaster. Thank you, Harbor Freight. And there's still a little bit of rust left, some pitting, but the paint that I'm working with will take care of it. So, because the paint is meant to go over rust, there just couldn't be any scales left. So I got the scales taken care of. And I've just done this back section. Like, I haven't done that side. Don't freak out. I'm just going to do this as a try run, but let me get to painting before this plane comes over. Got some paint on just the top section. Like I said, I haven't done anything in here yet, just done the top just to see how it turns out. And it's pitted. It's not pretty because there's pitting in the metal, but that's not rust, it's just the pitting of the metal, what's left over. And the main thing as I got was this brake distributor. There's a little bit of surface rust in there, so I took care of all that. And that's not going to rust anytime soon. But like I said, start of the paint. Alright, another evening. I spent an hour and a half for the flap disc, and I followed up with the sandblaster. Here I did nothing but sandblaster, and you can tell that below here was all the rust, but everything up from there is in solid condition, both inside and out. So if you've got rust near your spring perch mount, don't worry, it's just that bottom section that's rusted out. The rest of the section looks pretty good now. That was an extremely messy job, so let me show you. So my, look how disgusting my filters got. So definitely use a professional one. Mask is all covered up. I did that section yesterday, but the rest of it's all same deal. Flap disc grinded and then sandblasted to get any flakes off. It's okay that we have just a little bit of rust left, because the surface rust at least, because that's what the paint's going to cover up and turn into metal and stop it from rusting. Overall, took a long time, but pretty happy. So now I got to wipe it down with some acetone and then paint it. I figured you guys would want to see how dirty this is. This is a disgusting job, and it's 85 degrees. I got a long sleeve on because that sandblast stuff goes everywhere. So I look like I just got out of prison, but nope, I was just doing the frame. Gotta clean that frame now. Got the frame cleaned up as best as I could before it hits the paint. Ready to start painting. So the rust calculator is probably backwards. I'll talk more of this later. Alright, I've removed as much rust as humanly possible. It's pretty much all gone, which is great. As you can see, all the bad stuff's cut out. Got my plates ready to go in here. And then we'll start assembling it all back. I got all the bushings out of here. Everything's in good nick. Sandblasted, wide-wheeled everything that I could while I was out. But mainly the frame was the big piece as far as patching sections back together. But yeah, now I'll add the welding bits and we'll be good to go. Alright, today's the day. I think we got the frame good enough that it's worthy of getting the new brackets welded in. Little did I know, but I had a crap ton more work to do, and I was nowhere near ready to finish this frame today. So as you saw in that last clip, nothing goes as planned. I guess when you're working with cars, that's how it goes. That's what makes it fun. What we're gonna do is the next episode is gonna go through all the products that I ended up buying in total. Once I knew what condition my truck was in, go into why I bought them, how to use them, etc. Tips and tricks within how to use the products correctly, and basically get this truck back on the road. So the next episode, you'll see if the truck goes straight, if it goes back on the road, if I finish it or not. Hint, I finished it. But stay on the lookout and be sure to ask any questions if you have any in the comment section. I'm going to keep a close eye on this one because I have a feeling this is a frame issue with these Tacomas is not going to get any better, obviously. But either we're good and you got covered by your truck getting inspected and now the Toyota is going to take care of your frame for you, or you missed out somehow and you bought a dud like me and are stuck with whether you take this thing to the junkyard or take it to someone or fix it yourself, because I feel like this truck with the condition I found it in was fixable. It took a lot of work, but wasn't worth putting it in the junkyard. Thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, of course if you only like it, and feel free to share with your dog, your grandma, your boss, your aunt. Did I mention share it with your dog? Alright, peace out. Have a good one.